Good evening. Welcome to Gita Wisdom with Lakshmi this Tuesday evening. Thank you all for giving me your association tonight. So we're going to start with the fourth chapter, continue with the fourth chapter, which is a very rich chapter in terms of continuing with the stream of thought that Krishna has presented in the third chapter, Karma Yoga. So let us begin with chapter 4, text 1. Is everybody hearing me okay? Is it the volume coming through okay? Just someone say yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. So as I normally do, we begin with some Sanskrit to prepare the mood, for the Krishna speaking these transcendental words and bestowing us with the knowledge, the wisdom of the Supreme. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imang Vishvashpate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivishwan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivishwan. And Vivishwan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu, in turn, instructed it to Ikshvaku. So what are we getting here? We're starting to get a little bit of the history of Bhagavad Gita. We're getting the Krishna saying all the different personalities that are in the lineage of the Bhagavad Gita. So who does he first mention? So it says here, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivishwan. Now that's going to be something that bewilders Arjuna in the next couple of verses. And at that point it'll be explained. And then Vivishwan instructed it to Manu. There's a Manu Samhita and the laws for humanity. Manu wrote that particular book, and he's also Swayambhuva Manu. He's considered the emperor of the universe. So Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku, who was his son. So here we're getting introduced a bit to the history of Bhagavad Gita, when it was delivered, to whom it was delivered, and what was the process of preserving. My teacher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, when he did his translation of the Bhagavad Gita, he wanted to emphasize one point. I mean, there are many points that he talks about, but the one point that he did just by on the cover is the name of the title of the Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada translated is Bhagavad Gita as it is. And that's significant. How is it significant? It's significant in the sense that Bhagavad Gita should be heard as it is, not through the filters of someone who may or may not be self-realized. As it is means that Krishna, if we are to accept the premise that Krishna spoke these words, and if we are also to accept the further premise that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, then the next thing to understand is we cannot improve upon Krishna's words. Those words are apaurusheya. That word apaurusheya is a Sanskrit word, which means infallible. There's no mistake in the words of Krishna. Apaurusheya also means transcendental. They're not ordinary words mundane words, but these words are spiritually surcharged with the energy and the wisdom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna. So these Paurashaya is very important in that it is kept intact. So what are we being introduced to here? Krishna saying, many years ago, and the estimate of how many years it was, there is the reference to Treta Yuga. The beginning of Treta Yuga is when Krishna spoke this. So from the time where Krishna is right now, on the cusp of Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga, and for those who are not familiar with those terms, universal time is broken up into 4 divisions, much like our time frame in the course of a year, right? We have spring, summer, fall, and winter. So it's described that the universal time frame has a similar pattern. It has a spring, it has a summer, it has a fall, it has a winter season. And those are named Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Now we are in the time period called Kali Yuga, which is the winter. Kali Yuga is also called the Iron Age. It's called the age of laziness. There's so many different terms which indicate that Kali Yuga is not exactly a favorable time for spirituality. It is and it isn't. It is in the sense that because it's Kali Yuga, because it is the winter season, because there are so many things in the atmosphere and in the psychology of the people in general, which are not, what do I say? Not, why did that go off? Not conducive for spiritual understanding, then why? So the premise that Kali Yuga is not good for spiritual learning, that's obvious, but it is good for spiritual learning or spiritual development because it is an age of particular and specific mercy upon humanity. In other words, in previous ages, in order to cultivate the process of yoga and self-realization, it was much, much more difficult. You had to sit in meditation, unmoving, in the proper posture. There were so many things that in order to meditate properly had to be done in different ages. In Satya Yuga, it was meditation. In the following age, Treta Yuga, the process for self-realization was sacrifice. In Dwapara Yuga, the process for self-realization was deity worship, worship of Krishna in the form of a deity. And in Kali Yuga, because Kali Yuga is particularly detrimental to spiritual advancement because of the nature of this particular age, all the things that are surrounding us and mindset and consciousness level, and so many things which are going on in Kali Yuga. But the benefit of Kali Yuga is that because the Supreme Lord is so compassionate, so merciful, he incarnated in this particular yuga with a system of self-realization that anyone can follow. And that is Kirtan, Harinam, chanting of God's names. And by the chanting of God's names, that process is as or more potent than any other process of self-realization that has existed. Even though those processes may still exist during Kali Yuga, like meditation and sacrifice and deity worship, because of the degradation of consciousness in Kali Yuga, they're not, the personalities who do that are really not able to do it properly, with the proper consciousness level, with the proper understanding of what meditation is, what is the sacrifice, what is deity worship. So they still exist, they're still extant, but they're not performed properly, and therefore they don't have the potency. So knowing this, Krishna manifested himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu over 500 years ago, and he gave us what is called the Yuga Dharma. So I said Satya Yuga, that means, Yuga means the time period. Satya, the age of goodness and truth, then Treta, Dwapara, and ultimately Kali Yuga. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us for this day and age, for self-realization, for someone who is sincere in wanting to make advancement in terms of their own spirituality, he gave us the process, the Yuga Dharma, of chanting God's names. So simply by chanting God's names with all sincerity and understanding what are the things that can interfere with pure chanting, there's 10 what they call offenses, actually 11, but there's 10 that are primary, and then the 11th is the most primary and is the source of all the other ones. And that's to consider those that are seriously on the process, to belittle them or to offend them, to belittle the spiritual master, not take the spiritual master very seriously. There's 10 such offenses to chanting. So it's not that you just chant, it's just not a bunch of words that you mouth. It is a meditation trying to be conscious of the fact that you can make mistakes in doing that. So the perfection of chanting is under the guidance of a pure soul. When we have the great fortune of meeting a pure soul, and that pure soul introduces us to the chanting process, then that is considered greatly fortunate. There's a wonderful verse, Brahmande Brahmate Bhagwan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. And that means that the living entities are, through birth after birth after birth, all throughout the universe. And finally, maybe by some sukriti or pious activity that they performed during their constant birth and rebirth, they perform some activity, some good activity, pious activity. Sukriti literally means good actions. And if it's a good action which is dedicated to God, even if it's done accidentally, there is some sukriti, there is some result that you get for that, some opportunity, some blessing that's there for you as a result of performing sukriti. For instance, I'll give you a for instance. One of the principles, of course, is the chanting, and chanting in kirtan. And many of you, as I look over the names that are attending, are familiar with what is kirtan. So you've been to kirtan, you've chanted God's names, the names of the Supreme, and these names are infused. If the consciousness is proper, then the Supreme is there. You are actually gaining the direct association. And so you're getting the direct spiritual benefit from the potency of those names of God. It's described in one verse that the name and the named. So Krishna is the name. Krishna, the Supreme Person, is the named. There's no difference between the name and the named. So by chanting, you get direct association. You get that direct contact with that personal spiritual energy of the Supreme. For instance, if you have an iron rod, and an iron rod can, reflect heat or it can reflect cold. So if you have a cold iron rod, you put it into the fire, and what will happen? that iron rod will heat up, and eventually it'll become red hot, and then white hot, and then the hottest blue hot. It will be so hot, it will be like fire itself. So it's described when we are chanting God's names, and my teacher said, any names of God that you chant, that you meditate on, and you approach with a mindset of humility, tolerance, a mindset of humility, a mindset of tolerance, a mindset where you're not doing it to become famous. Oh, look at that kirtan. Look how great a kirtan singer he is. Sometimes, I even hate to say this, I'm sorry I'm saying this, but anyway, I have to say, sometimes it looks like the kirtaniya is a rock star. He got his guitar and his long hair, and and a person that plays the guitar and does kirtan and long hair can be a very sincere chanter. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to stereotype, but I'm saying sometimes to me it looks like more of a performance than actually a sacrifice and offering to the Supreme Lord. In fact, in some instances, I've experienced that knowledge of who is being named, who that personality is not even there, but because they like to chant, which is good. That's a very good thing to be able to like to chant, but to know and to make the most of the chanting process, there has to be knowledge of the name that you're chanting. Who are you approaching? When I say Krishna, what does that mean? When I say Hare Krishna, what does that mean? Who am I approaching? Who's Hare? Who's Krishna? Who's Ram? If you know who you are addressing, right? I mean, just logically in our own experience, when we meet somebody, what's the first thing we ask them after we meet them? We're like, I have an opportunity because I take my son to the train station every morning now that he's going to school in West Palm Beach, which is a half hour away. The school provides a train car, and he goes on that car with chaperones and security guards, etc. And so I get to meet a lot of the parents of the other children that are going to the same school. And we get to talking, but what's the first thing that we ask each other when we're in conversation? What's your name? Where do you live? Right? You don't talk to somebody and not know their name. I mean, you can do that, but really it's more courteous and more respectful if you ask them their name and you address them by that name. So that is what we're doing in chanting. Whose names are we chanting? Why are we chanting those names? Why are we chanting Hare? Why are we chanting Krishna? Why are we chanting Rama? What's behind the chant? What does that mean? What does the mantra actually mean? How many here on board now do not know what the meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra is? Is there anyone who doesn't know the literal meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra? Okay, so basically it means, oh, the energy of my Lord, Radharani, oh Krishna. So Hare means Radha, Krishna is addressing Krishna, and Hare again, Radharani, because wherever there's the supreme masculine, there's the supreme feminine. So then Rama is another name for Krishna, means the giver of pleasure, Radha Raman. So we're saying, oh energy of my Lord, oh my Lord himself, please engage me in your service. It's a petition. It's a call out for mercy, for favor, for blessing. Allow me to serve you, because literally the translation of Bhakti Yoga, according to the Garuda Purana, The literal translation of Bhakti Yoga is devotional service to the Supreme. So it means if you're cultivating Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love and devotion, your cultivation process is actually a call to the Supreme to engage me in your service. That is the literal meaning of the Hare Krishna mantra. So Krishna is giving all this wisdom. And what does Arjuna ask, as a result? Well, this transcendental knowledge is there. Krishna is relaying this knowledge, and Arjuna is listening. So the Gita, as Prabhupada says in the purport of this Gita, the Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. So it's not just a book, a philosophy book, a book to be studied on the academic level, but it is a book of wisdom, transcendental or spiritual wisdom. It is, as I mentioned before, it is our method of swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means study of sacred text and self-study. So the study of sacred text helps us in the process of self-study to know who we really are. What is our nature, our true nature, our eternal nature, and what is our purpose in being here on this planet? What is our purpose in being here? Is it just to live X amount of years? I think it's something like 75 or 76 years on the average for a male, and 78, 79 years for the female, to live those years and get as much as you can out of that brief amount of time. And in terms of the nature of eternality, 75, 79, 80, 90, 100 years is just less than a second. It's a fleeting moment. So is the purpose in our life just to squeeze out as much as possible, as much enjoyment as possible? And that's the purpose. So yoga, what does Krishna call it in the first verse? He mentions yoga in these next 4 or 5 verses many times. And the imam vishvashvate yogam, so the transliteration of yogam here is the science of one's relationship to the Supreme. That is how yoga, in context of the Gita, and particularly this section of the Gita, that's what's being referred to. The science of one's relationship to the Supreme. Now, when Krishna first uses the word yoga, I think it comes in chapter 2, text 48. The definition in the transliteration, it has yoga because the word is used in the verse, and it says samatvam. That's the definition of yoga there. So contextually, yoga has many different meanings through the course of the Bhagavad Gita. And that's why we need a pure-hearted individual to give us the actual meaning as it is being spoken by Krishna at the particular juncture that he's in, because this is a journey. Krishna is taking us on a journey of self-discovery, self-realization. So as you proceed in a journey, you're at different points of the path, of the road of your journey. So as Krishna is progressing about yoga, he is giving us different perspectives and different insights depending on where he is at, what he is saying, and contextually how he's using the word yoga. So here in the 4th chapter, as separate from the 2nd chapter where he says samatvam, or equipoised, or stable in mind, or steady in mind. Here, in the 4th chapter, 2 chapters later, he's using the word yogam as the science of understanding one's relationship with Bhagavan, with the Supreme Personality. So we see the progression. And so what Krishna is introducing to us in this first section of the 4th chapter, how does that knowledge get transmitted in a way that it is not contaminated or corrupted or misunderstood? So we're introduced in the first chapter to the fact that it is handed down. Krishna, the source of that knowledge, gives it to Vivishwan. Vivishwan is qualified to receive that knowledge, and he passes it down to his son, Manu. And then Manu passes it down to Ikshvaku. They're all kings. That's another point to understand, that when we are reading about the passing down of the Vedic wisdom, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, you notice that the responsibility of receiving the wisdom and disseminating the responsibility lies in the leaders, right? Vivishwan was a leader of the universe. Manu, also a leader of the universe. King Ikshvaku, same thing. These were all leaders, and they're tasked with the responsibility of receiving this wisdom, understanding it, implementing it, and then sharing it. The Vedic process of knowledge and transmission of knowledge is to hear, to reflect upon what you've heard, to assimilate into your life what you've reflected upon. And the 4th aspect of the passing on of Vedic wisdom and understanding of Vedic wisdom is to share it with others. Actually, one of the most powerful ways that you can understand Bhagavad Gita is to share it with someone else. Whatever realization or level of realization you have, you can't say, you can't get out of it. You can't get out of the responsibility by saying, oh, I'm new. I'm a new person. I don't understand much. Whatever you do get out of it, whatever little thing you may understand in relationship to the wisdom that's coming at you from Krishna through the parampara, through the disciplic succession, I guarantee you, if you share it with others, it will stick. It will stay, and you will also be blessed with realization of what's being spoken. I can tell you, quite honestly, that was the blessing that I had when I first seriously got into Bhagavad Gita. Almost immediately, when I joined in 1972, there was a Swami, his name was Vishnu Jan Swami, and he had a bus, a school bus that was transformed into a mobile temple. And he went around to all different places, places that never heard of Hare Krishna, and we would chant, and we would, talk to people and give out books and all that. And after 2 weeks of me being in that environment, I was talking to people about the Bhagavad Gita. So almost from the beginning of my sojourn on my spiritual path, with the mechanism, the medium of Bhagavad Gita, I was talking about it. And anything that I understand to this point, I attribute to the fact that somehow or another, I was blessed with the opportunity to immediately begin the sharing process. So I can guarantee you If you understand any of this is what we're talking about, and you have some enthusiasm about it, do not be shy in sharing it. You will be so surprised who you will meet and the response that you will get. Text 2. This now is, there was a specific delineation of personalities that was mentioned by Krishna. Remember, Vivishwan, Manu, Ikshvaku, specific people that it was handed to and they were responsible for. Now here's the principle. The principle reads, this is text 2. The supreme science, and again, the word is, let me see, yeah, in the last line Sanskrit, what do you see there in text 2? Yogo Nashta. So what does Yoga Nashta mean? It means that the science was lost or it was scattered somehow or another. Yoga, the science of understanding one's relationship with the Supreme, was lost. So again, Krishna, mentions yoga, and again, the translation is exactly what was in the first text, the science of self-realization, of understanding about one's loving relationship with the Supreme. So this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. So we got the specifics of who Krishna revealed this science of yoga to, Vivishwan, who handed it down. Now Krishna is saying this is the principle. The principle is you, in order to hear this wisdom in its most potent form, its most powerful form, its most transformative form, then the best way to hear it is in a disciplic succession. And what does that mean? It means it's handed down from one pure self-realized soul to the next, who takes his responsibility or her responsibility to transmit that wisdom and then hand it down and hand it down and hand it down, all the way up to our present day. It's called a lineage or parampara, and that means a line of qualified teachers have received it from a previous qualified teacher when they became advanced enough to understand it and to hear it and then to transmit it to others. That is the way Krishna is saying Bhagavad Gita must be received. It's not an academic book. And Lord Brahma in the Brahma Samhita says, Vedeshu dulabam adulabam atma bhakto. That it's not that you become a Vedic scholar, a Vedic academician, but is only through revelation, through mercy from the Supreme. You can understand when you've become a qualified individual to receive that mercy, to be blessed with the ability to understand what Krishna is actually saying. Just like if I wanted to understand you, who's the better person to tell me about you than you? You can give me your history, how you are who you are, how you became who you are. You can give me all the nitty-gritty details so that I understand you fully. And that's by your mercy. You've decided to confide in me, whatever the reason. And when you decide to confide in someone, then they'll know you. They'll know you because you are allowing them to know you. You're revealing you to them. And that's what Krishna is doing. It's the same principle. To try to understand Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita on an academic level, it's not possible because the mercy principle is not in effect. And we need the mercy principle. We need the principle of grace to be in effect so that we can truly understand it beyond the ego. This is where the ego doesn't get in the way when one becomes a recipient of the mercy. Otherwise, you may be a very intelligent person. You may have your PhD. You may have, so many material qualifications, but that is not the indicator is not that how many degrees you have, how big is your brain, how high is your IQ. That's not the qualification. Lord Brahma said that. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakta. That because you know the Vedas doesn't necessarily mean you're going to realize the Vedas. The realization comes through mercy. So how do we receive that mercy? We receive that mercy by linking up. Everyone knows the meaning of yoga is linking, to link or to unite, right? To connect. Everyone knows that definition. But linking up and the process of linking up is very important. So how do we link up? It's not a random, whimsical process. That one must link up with the disciplic succession, with the personality who represents that whole lineage that leads right back to the very source of the Gita. The very source. When we do like that, then we get a very good understanding. So this is what Krishna is saying here. The supreme science of yoga was thus received through this chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in due course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it appears to be lost. So how is it lost? Krishna doesn't indicate how it's lost, but we do know as the ages progress, like we said before, Satya Yuga, the golden age, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and the last Yuga, Kali Yuga. The time is a degenerative force, right? Time degenerates everything material. You get a nice new car, right? And it smells like a new car, right? And it responds like a new car. You can turn the wheel and it responds to the engine. Everything about the new car, everything works perfectly. Fast forward 5 years later, you don't have the new car smell. You may have a dent somewhere, someone backed into you in the parking lot. There's so many things which are indicators of the aging process, the deterioration process, the degenerative process. That's time. Time has that influence. Look at our bodies, how time has influenced our bodies. You've looked at your baby picture and see how time has affected you. I have a picture on my phone. Let's see if I can pull it up just for fun. I have a picture on my phone of when I was 5 years old. See, do I have it here? Somewhere I have it, but not here. Oh, I thought I had it here. But I have this picture when I was 5 years old. It doesn't look like me. I mean, there are some things that are there. The eyes are the same. So, time is a degenerative force. So how does the wisdom get lost? Wisdom gets lost because time has an effect on consciousness. time not only affects body, but time can affect consciousness too. And time can affect our mind, our intellect, and the influence that ego has. So this influence of time, it's lost. And what is Krishna specifically referring to? He's referring to the yoga is basically two paths he's described, two basic paths, the path of renunciation and the path of action. So what Krishna is talking about here basically is the path of action has been lost. Why would Krishna, from chapter 2, all through chapter 3, all through chapter 4, all through chapter 5, why would Krishna talk about karma yoga? It's because the understanding of what karma yoga is has been lost. The path of renunciation is pretty clear. What is renunciation, etc. Whether someone does it legitimately or not, that's another question. But Krishna is really honing in these first 4 or 5 chapters of Gita to give us an understanding of the yoga of action, because that covers 95% of the population of the world, of humanity, are people of action. And we have maybe a legitimate 5% people of renunciation. So it's foremost to understand, the yoga of action. And bhakti, which it is described that the first 6 chapters deal primarily with karma yoga. There is some jnana yoga and dhyana yoga in there, but primarily karma yoga. Beginning from 7th chapter to the 12th chapter, bhakti. But bhakti is also an active yogic principle, an active yogic process. There is the contemplative form of bhakti, but most of bhakti is utilizing what you have as an offering to the Supreme. That's mostly what bhakti is being talked about. So that's why Krishna is emphasizing and focusing, so to give us an understand how we can act in this world in such a way that it becomes liberating. Jodnartat karmano nyatra. So this liberates us. Our actions liberating us. Otherwise, Krishna says, loko yam karma bandhana. Otherwise, your action may look the same, will bind you to the world, bind you to this material world, keep you in the system, so to speak, of being shackled to your attachments. And Krishna doesn't want that. That's not the point of the Bhagavad Gita. He wants you to elevate your consciousness to the point of love and love exchange with the Supreme, and to live in that state of existence, the state of existence of loving exchange with the Supreme, no matter where you are. No matter where you are. So, text 3. Again, Krishna leads off with yoga. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme, all the definition of yoga, is today told by me to you, Arjuna. Now he gives the criteria. Why is he telling it to Arjuna? Here he says, because you are a devotee, Arjuna, as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science. So that's a lot to chew over. This ancient science is being given to you because you meet the criteria of number 1, being my devotee, and even being a devotee, one has to have an attitude of not being envious. Idang tute guyatamang pravaksham anasuyave. Krishna says that in the 9th chapter. he tells Arjuna again, because Arjuna, you're not envious of me, because you love me. You love me, you're devoted to me, and you're my friend. Why does Krishna say friend? Because there are different types of loving exchange. On the spiritual platform, that's also reflected here in the material world. We have love where we're serving someone, and you're in service to that someone. You may love that person. Like, for instance, a nurse, a private nurse may have a patient, right, where she goes, like here, especially in South Florida, there's a lot of elderly people and they're in constant need of care. And so their insurance or their financial ability may be as such, they can get a nurse that comes in every day and takes care of them. And I've seen quite often, because I was an administrator, a director of a assisted living facility for a couple of years in South Philly. I see that the patient is a nice person, and the nurse actually, her or his duty as a nurse is to serve that person in the capacity that they're trained for. But while doing that service, they develop a love for this patient. They really develop an appreciation for them as a person and a love for them. So there's that kind of love. There's love which is born from friendship. You think of your best friend, right? Think of your best friend. And could you say, I love my best friend? And you could probably give reasons. That person has always been good to me. That person has always been there for me. That person I could confide in. That person confides in me. That person gives me gifts, and I give them gifts, and I go over to their house to eat, and they come over to my house and eat. We have these various kinds of exchanges, which makes the relationship of friendship deeper and more loving. So we experience that. And then, of course, we have parental love on two ends of the spectrum. We are parents, we love our children. We are children, and we have our parents. And we experience that kind of love and love reciprocation. And then finally, there's the love relationship between lover and beloved. So all of these exist within this realm because they exist in the spiritual realm. So what is Krishna saying to Arjuna? Arjuna, you are my friend, my spiritual friend, and my devotee. Your devotion is manifest through your love, your friendship love. Just like Radharani's devotion to Krishna is manifest through the flavor of Madhurya Rasa, or a conjugal relationship. That is how Mother Jasoda and Nanda Maharaj, their love and devotion for Krishna is manifest through the mood of parent. How can God have parents? It's because it is a unique and special flavor of love that God wants to experience and enjoy. So it therefore exists. And Arjuna is a devotee, that Krishna mentions that first and foremost, and a friend. So his devotion manifests through his friendship love for Krishna. And Krishna also says here in this particular verse, the mystery of the science. That this yoga process is a mystery. So it's a secret. So therefore, you have to have access to that mystery. And Krishna is telling Arjuna why he has access to that mystery. Text 4. Arjuna said, so now Arjuna is asking a question. And look at the question he's asking. He's saying to Krishna, the sun god, Vivishwan, is senior by birth to you. In other words, it's recorded that the sun god existed 2,005,000 years prior. Krishna manifested, he came 5,000 years ago. So Arjuna's question is, how can you say you revealed this science of self-realization 2 million years ago? You're here with me now. Doesn't make any sense to me. So Arjuna asks this question, as he does throughout the Gita. And why does he ask questions? It's not that he doesn't know the answer to that question. He knows, but he asks for our benefit. Because, when we are learned, when we become more and more learned, and we understand who Vivishwan is, the sun god, etc., the math doesn't add up. Krishna, you spoke this 2 million years ago. You're here with me now. How is it? Not possible. So Prabhupada says that Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that Krishna would describe himself without any misunderstanding. Who he is. Because it's unique to this chapter where Krishna really talks about himself and demonstrates to Arjuna, thus the world, why he is considered an authority. You'll see in the upcoming verses why he's considered an authority. And Krishna is saying here, Arjuna is asking this question, why? You started this whole chain of wisdom, but that was 2 million years ago. How could you do it? You're here now giving me the same wisdom. And then Krishna answers. And these next few verses, Krishna is giving us, the reader, the sincere seeker, reason why we should accept him as the authority. So what does he say in this text 5? He says, the personality of Godhead, Krishna says, many, many births, both you and I have passed, Arjuna. I, Krishna, can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. So right there, that's point number 1 that Krishna is making. I don't get lost. I don't forget. I'm eternally cognizant of my position. Nothing can block or there is no question of ignorance there. I am not on that level where I can be covered at any time into forgetfulness. But what does he say? You can, Arjuna. That's the difference. You can, I can't. And that's how it's applicable to us. How's Krishna different than us? Okay, he was good looking, he was funny, and he was a good musician and a good dancer, and he had all these great qualities. But how much? What makes him qualified to be called God and to be worshipped? So these next few verses, Krishna is saying, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them. I'm never covered by ignorance, but you can be. That's one point that Krishna makes. Second point, and this is text 6. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in original transcendental form. So right there, unborn, but you say, Well, the living entity is eternal, right? That's the qualification of living entity. But Krishna is saying, I'm unborn in the sense that my form, this is the original form. This is the Adi Purush. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That's what Lord Brahma says. Govindam Adi Purusham, the original person. So Krishna is saying, when I come into this world, I'm not born into this world, I come into this world. My body never deteriorates, Krishna says. And he repeats that. My original transcendental form. So the form that we are seeing, the form that is Krishna, that never changes. That is Krishna. Now and billions of years into the future and millions of years back in the past. Krishna says, that's my original transcendental form. Never deteriorates. Can you say that about your form? I can certainly I cannot say my form is not deteriorated. All you have to do is put your picture when you were born, put your picture when you were 5, when you were 10, when you were 15, when you were 20, when you were 30, when you were 40. Maybe I'll stop here for some of you, but when you become 50 or 60 or 70 or 75, you put your picture. You put them next to each other, and then you see, is your transcendental body never deteriorating? I took just for fun, just to tease my wife, I took a picture that I took many years ago. I guess I was around 35, so it would be 40 years ago. And I was on the bank of the Ganges River in a gamsha. And if you don't know what a gamsha is, it's a wrap. In India, you wrap, like if you go swimming, or we have gamshas here, and we use it as like our towel because it's lightweight and it's cotton. But in India, you can go swimming in it. It's a wrap, and it goes down to your knees. So I had a picture, someone took a picture of me on the bank of the Ganges River in a gamsha. So I thought, just as a joke, and I was topless. I didn't have a shirt on, so I just had a gamsha and no shirt. So as a joke, I was in the backyard and I was in a gamsha. And I told my son, take a picture of me, and I'm going to show mommy and tell mommy, look, I'm the same as I was 40 years ago. So we took the picture, and then we compared the picture. And my wife said, nice try. Nice try. So our bodies deteriorate. Krishna is saying, no, they don't deteriorate. My body never deteriorates. So, oops, I'm losing power. Let's hurry up in case I lose power. So Krishna gave a couple of reasons there. Text 7. If for some reason my power runs out, I'm actually using my wife's computer. She took mine on a trip, and I didn't notice that it was this low. But if we run out, we'll continue next week. We're on text 7, and Krishna says, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend. So it's a conscious arrival. Krishna is saying, I consciously descend or come into being in order to reinstate the principles of religious practice, dharma, to reinstate dharma, and I come myself to do this. Text 8. And what happens when I do this? Krishna says in text 8, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So again, Krishna comes again and again. And why? to favor his devotees so he can perform activities that they can meditate upon, and he simultaneously can do away with the demoniac elements. And each incarnation, as you see, there's a song called Das Avatars, and it talks about 10 different incarnations of Krishna. But you see, in many of those incarnations, in each one of them, they performed wonderful pastimes, and they also got rid of the demoniac elements, the negative elements of the world. You look at Lord Nrsingadev getting rid of Hiranyakashipu, the big demon who conquered the universe. Lord Varaha getting rid of Hiranyaksha, who was Hiranyakashipu's brother, and he was also very powerful. So he comes to help humanity by getting rid of these evil forces, and in so doing, the devotees meditate on those wonderful pastimes, wonderful activities that the Lord performs. So it's 8 o'clock. I'll stop here. We'll pick up on text 9 next Tuesday. What is the date of next Tuesday? Is it, let me see.
I think it's the second.
Okay, thank you. You're right. Yeah, because next Tuesday I'm not going to have class because a good friend of mine, Victor, a lot of kirtan with Victor, it's his birthday. So they're going to have a celebration for Victor, and I would really like to be there. I really would like to be here with you all, but you know, he is my kirtan buddy and friend, so I'll cancel class next Tuesday, but resume it on the 9th. Yeah, Tuesday the 9th. And then I have to think deeply. I'm going to India on September 18th. I'm departing and be back October 12th. And I have to figure it out whether I can do it while I'm in India or not. But I'll let you know the next time we meet, which will be September 9th. So thank you all for being here with me this evening, giving me your association. Does anyone have anything any observation they would like to make, anything they would like to say in relationship to the 8 verses? No? Trish, you're convinced that
Well, I find it interesting in the writings how he's talking about demons because I did a little of the reading. And is it more dark energies attached, more like impure creatures, humans?
Well, demonic, when the word demon is used, it's used in a number of contexts. The first demon, when we talk about Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha, these are like big demons, like powerful demoniac forces that influence the universe. And then in the later, I think it's the 16th or 17th chapter, it's entitled The Divine and the Demoniac. Then it talks about the negative qualities that we as ordinary mortals develop: envy, greed, arrogance, you know, and it gives a whole list of how we can act under that negative influence. So it can talk about the ordinary, the everyday person like you and me, or it can refer to the big demons who have impact on the whole universe by virtue of their you know, their actions. So that's when demon is being used. You have to look at it in context. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so when Krishna says, "I appear to kill the miscreants," that's in reference to the big demons, because at the time that Krishna appeared, those demons took birth as kings, and they were influencing, they were having an influence on society in general. So that's why Krishna orchestrated this whole war, this battle of Kurukshetra, because in one fell swoop, he was able to get rid of a lot of the demoniac presence and force that existed at the time. So that was Krishna's plan. And that's why Krishna tells Arjuna in the beginning, it's my plan. You can't deny this plan. It's going to happen, Arjuna, whether you participate or not. If you don't participate, then you're going against your dharma. If you do participate, you're fulfilling my will. I've made this arrangement because of the demoniac presence on the planet right now. And that demoniac presence is causing suffering. And I'm the protectorate of all living entities. Krishna says that I'm the protector of all living entities. So when it gets built up to the degree like we're almost seeing now, I'm waiting for Krishna to come, but when it gets built up to a big, powerful presence which influences a lot of people, then Krishna comes. He comes in one of two ways. He either comes himself or he sends a very powerful personality.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a nice question. Anything else? Does anyone have anything else they would like to say? No.
Thank you for sharing this story with the Damodar boss.
Oh yeah.
So since then you've been talking about the Gita and it never grows old, huh?
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I tell you, even like sometimes during the week I'm tired and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll cancel because I'm tired. And then I say, well, just let me study the verses. And then when I start studying the verses and all these things, all the knowledge comes out, all the things that I want to say, the fatigue goes away. Like I had a very busy weekend this weekend, and also after the weekend, my son keeps me busy with his whole schedule. And but when I get to this point, like now at 8 o'clock, I'm like my mind is on fire. It's just like I have so much energy and so much desire to speak and share and hear, and you get fired up. Yeah. So that was the colossal blessing bestowed upon me very, very early. And it has sustained me all these years, to continue chanting and to continue reading and to continue sharing. It has literally kept, my fire burning ever since those days.
Nice.
Because you realize how much people are suffering. When you get to talk about, because a lot of people really need a shoulder to cry on, because they're suffering so much. And when you talk to people and you realize how much suffering is there, you naturally feel compassionate. You naturally feel like, hey, Krishna did this whole Bhagavad Gita, yeah, for Arjuna's benefit, but it was really for the benefit of humanity. We would be misers not to share this knowledge. It would really be a shame if you have it and you're not sharing it. So yeah, all these years, I joined in 72, so 53 years now. Can't even believe it. 53 years. Okay, folks, thank you so much. Lovely being with you all.
Thank you, bro.
You all have a healthy, happy, and holy week. And I will see you.
Haribol, Lakshmi.
Hari, Shri Hari, Haribo. I will see you on the 9th again, all right? I'll send out a reminder just so everyone is aware of it. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Until we meet again.
Hari Haribo.
Haribo.